This brand new multi-billion euro spaceship is the Rimac campus, just southwest of Zagreb in Croatia. It builds Rimac's own Nevera electric hypercars and houses the production line for prototype Bugatti tourbillons.
Bugatti-Rimac drives a $2.6 million Bugatti like it's a rental car, while other billionaires lock their hypercars away, treating them as untouchable trophies. Bugatti-Rimac does the opposite. His Chiron has traveled over 100,000 miles. His electric Nevera carries thousands more. No bubble wrap, no velvet rope, just open roads and a man who refuses to play by the rules of wealth. But here's what nobody talks about. Why would the head of two hypercar empires risk destroying the very cars worth millions? There's a reason buried in his past, one that explains everything. Stay with us. Let's dive into the evidence and uncover the truth. A bet that could backfire. A man steps out of his garage in Croatia. He's not heading to a car show. He's not parking the car for photos under bright lights. He's about to drive a Bugatti Chiron through regular traffic, past speed bumps, past potholes, past every road hazard that could cost him more than most people earn in a decade. One wrong scrape against a curb, one cracked splitter, one bad pothole hit at the wrong angle. That's enough to trigger a repair bill running into six figures. The carbon fiber body panels on a Chiron aren't something a local shop can fix.
Carbon fiber is around 45% lighter than aluminium, 80% lighter than steel, so it allows us to produce really lightweight structures.
Parts get shipped in from France. Specialists fly out to handle the work. The car sits in a service bay for weeks, while the bill climbs higher and higher with every passing day. Most owners of million-dollar hypercars know this math by heart, and that's exactly why they don't drive their cars at all. A scratch on a seven-figure machine isn't just an inconvenience. It's a financial event with real consequences attached to it. Insurance companies charge owners of cars like the Chiron close to $20,000 a year, and that's before anything actually goes wrong on the road. If something does go wrong, the next year's premium climbs even higher than before, sometimes by a wide margin. There's also the matter of long-term value sitting in the background of every decision. A hypercar with low mileage and a spotless history can sell for more than its original sticker price years down the line. Collectors treat these cars the way some people treat gold bars, locked away, untouched, waiting for the right buyer who'll pay a premium for something barely driven at all. The moment the odometer starts climbing, that premium begins to shrink fast, sometimes faster than owners expect. So why would Bugatti-Rimac, the man running two hypercar brands at the same time, choose to ignore every rule that protects a car's resale value? He's not new to this industry, and he's not naive about money either. He understands resale numbers better than almost anyone alive today, simply because his entire career depends on understanding them. He built his whole empire on figuring out exactly what makes a car desirable to buyers in the first place. And yet his own Chiron has covered more distance than most family sedans will see across their entire lifetime on the road. His Nevera, a car that can hit 60 miles an hour in under 2 seconds, has tens of thousands of kilometers on the clock, racked up on regular roads, in regular traffic, while running regular errands like anyone else might. There's a fire risk too, one that hypercar owners rarely like to discuss in public settings. Other extreme performance cars have caught fire on public roads in recent years, and the stories tend to spread fast inside this small, tightly connected world. A Mercedes-AMG 1 burned out completely on a German road in front of stunned onlookers. A Koenigsegg caught fire outside Athens, leading to an urgent recall for every single owner of that exact model. These aren't rumors or exaggerated stories passed around online. These are documented incidents that make insurance companies nervous, and most owners far more cautious than usual. Knowing all of this, every risk, every cost, every possible disaster, Rimac still takes his cars out anyway. Not occasionally, and not just for show either. He drives them regularly, for actual errands, actual long road trips, actual daily use that wears down tires, and slowly adds up mileage week after week, without slowing down. The obvious question follows him everywhere he goes, whether he addresses it directly or not. What does he know that the rest of the hypercar world refuses to accept? The answer isn't sitting inside a press release or a glossy magazine interview somewhere. It's hidden inside the numbers he's been quietly posting for anyone willing to look closely enough to notice the pattern. The numbers nobody believes. Here's where the story becomes nearly impossible to ignore. Mate Rimac's Bugatti Chiron has covered roughly 176,000 kilometers. That works out to close to 109,000 miles. For comparison, that's more distance than most commercial delivery vans rack up in their first several years on the road. Except, this is a car with a top speed past 400 kilometers an hour, powered by an 8-liter quad-turbocharged engine, producing nearly 1,500 horsepower.
Well, yeah, the Chiron engine was 450 kilos. This one is 250 kilos, so 200 kilos less just on the engine. Plus, you know, there's no intercoolers, there's less heat generation and stuff like that. But of course, you have the hybrid system, which adds up weight.
His Rimac Nevera, the all-electric hypercar capable of hitting 60 miles an hour in under 2 seconds flat, has logged more than 41,000 kilometers on its own. That's over 25,000 miles racked up on a car that starts at $2.2 million before a single option gets added to the price. Put those two numbers side by side, and the combined total crosses 125,000 miles, all racked up on two of the rarest, most expensive vehicles on the entire planet. Most hypercars, sitting in private collections, never even cross 5,000 miles across their whole existence. Some never leave the garage they were originally delivered to on day one. This isn't a one-time stunt staged for attention either. Rimac has documented this mileage across years, not weeks or months. He's posted about it on social media more than once, each time repeating the same message in slightly different words. Hypercars are built to be driven, not stored away like museum pieces behind glass. There's a story that captures this idea better than any spreadsheet full of numbers ever could. Rimac once skipped a private jet entirely for a trip to the Munich Auto Show. Instead, he drove his personal Chiron the whole way there, covering more than 300 miles on a single tank of fuel, averaging just over 60 miles an hour, occasionally pushing the car much harder across open stretches of highway when the road allowed it. A car engineered to chase land speed records got used the same way someone might use an ordinary sedan for a long weekend commute back home. Compare this directly to what usually happens across the rest of the hypercar world. A 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO recently sold at auction for $38 million.
An iconic 1962 hypercar has become the most expensive Ferrari ever sold at auction.
Its new owner did something almost nobody expected from a buyer at that level. He drove it immediately, with no hesitation and no gentle babying of the throttle whatsoever. It made headlines specifically because it was rare, not because it was considered normal behavior in that world. For most ultra-rare cars on the planet, the moment of sale is often the very last time anyone ever drives them at all. The contrast couldn't be sharper if you tried to design it that way on purpose. On one side sits an entire industry built around scarcity, low mileage, and untouched paint that never sees a single scratch across decades. On the other side stands a CEO treating his fleet of seven-figure machines the exact same way someone treats a reliable tool meant to be used every single day, without thinking twice about it. The math doesn't lie, no matter how you try to frame it. Every mile Rimac puts onto these cars chips away at their future resale value bit by bit, slowly but surely. Every mile also chips away at the entire idea that hypercars exist purely as financial investments rather than actual machines built to perform. And the man doing all that chipping happens to be the one person on the planet whose entire job depends on people believing the opposite is true about his own products. A billionaire's cheap secret. If those mileage numbers feel strange enough on their own, what Bugatti-Rimac actually drives on an ordinary day feels almost impossible to believe at first glance. Parked next to a Bugatti Chiron, a Rimac Nevera, an Aston Martin Valkyrie Spider, and a Porsche Carrera GT sits something completely out of place inside that garage. A Volkswagen Golf R32. This isn't a stripped-down show car built for attention, and it isn't a wrapped publicity stunt designed for cameras either. It's a regular hatchback, the kind of car a college student might drive to class on any given morning without anyone noticing. It costs somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 on the used market today, about the same price as a brand new Toyota Corolla, fresh off the lot. Rimac picked it up earlier in the year and parked it right next to machines worth 100 times more without blinking or making a big deal out of it. He didn't hide it from anyone watching, and he didn't apologize for owning it either. He posted it publicly, almost proudly, the same way someone might show off a rare find they stumbled across at a flea market on a lazy weekend. For a man who builds some of the fastest cars ever created on Earth, driving a hot hatch with 247 horsepower to the office feels almost like a joke at first. Except he clearly wasn't joking around at all.
What I want to know is, will it unseat the quickest accelerating gasoline-powered production car of all time, 1,500 horsepower Bugatti Chiron Pure Sport?
This wasn't even his first ordinary daily driver either. Before the Golf, he was already known for showing up to work in a basic BMW 5 Series sedan, the kind of car that blends into any parking lot across Europe without anyone giving it a second look or a second glance. People who expected a hypercar CEO to step out of something extraordinary every single morning were met instead with something almost completely invisible and unremarkable. There's a pattern hiding underneath this behavior that says more than it first appears to on the surface. Rimac doesn't separate his cars into status symbols on one side and practical tools on the other side. He treats almost everything sitting in his garage the exact same way, without drawing a hard line between them. His BMW E30 M3, a car he's openly called his true love more than once, isn't locked away behind glass either. Neither are his other BMW M models from the brand's golden era of driver-focused performance cars built decades ago. He drives what he genuinely loves, regardless of what the car happens to be worth on paper, to a collector somewhere. It creates an unusual kind of consistency that most wealthy car owners never bother building for themselves. Most people naturally assume that wealth changes what a car represents to its owner over time, that the higher the price tag climbs, the more careful that owner becomes behind the wheel. Rimac flips that entire assumption upside down without even trying very hard. The more expensive the car sitting in his garage, the more determined he seems to actually go out and use it properly, almost as a point of principle. This habit reveals something deeper about how he sees his own success in life, beyond just the cars themselves. He isn't performing wealth for an audience scrolling through social media late at night. He's not driving a hypercar to the grocery store purely for the cameras. And he's not hiding a cheap car out of embarrassment either. Both extremes exist openly inside the same garage, parked side by side, without any real contradiction between them at all. It raises an uncomfortable question for an entire industry, built around exclusivity and scarcity as its core selling point. If the man who actually manufactures these hypercars doesn't believe they need to stay untouchable forever, behind closed doors, why does everyone else in the industry still insist that they do? From a garage in Croatia, to understand why Rimac thinks this way, the story has to rewind more than a decade. Long before Bugatti, long before the Nevera, long before any of the wealth that came along with both of those things. Mate Rimac started out modifying an old BMW in a home garage in Croatia, far away from any major automotive hub. He wasn't backed by a major automaker with deep pockets behind him, and he wasn't connected to old money already established in the auto industry through family ties. He was a young engineer working out of a small workshop with one simple idea in his head: that electric power could outperform anything running on gasoline. At a time when almost nobody in the car world took electric vehicles seriously as real competitors. That early BMW wasn't treated like a museum piece sitting under a cover either, untouched and admired from a distance. It was a test subject, something built to be broken, rebuilt, and broken again, while he learned exactly what worked and what didn't through trial and error. There was no version of his early career where a car sat untouched in the corner of a garage collecting dust. Every vehicle he owned back then existed for one purpose only: to be pushed, studied, and improved piece by piece, day after day. This hands-on instinct never really left him, even after the small workshop eventually turned into Rimac Automobili, and even after Rimac Automobili grew large enough to catch the attention of Porsche itself, one of the biggest names in the entire industry. In 2021, Porsche partnered with Rimac to take control of Bugatti entirely, creating Bugatti-Rimac as a single combined company, with the former garage tinkerer from Croatia now running one of the most prestigious car brands in all of automotive history. It's a strange kind of jump to picture clearly, going from modifying a used BMW in a small garage to overseeing a brand that once built cars for European royalty generations ago. But the engineering mindset that got him there in the first place never disappeared once his job title changed to CEO. He still shows up to engineering meetings in person, sitting alongside his team rather than above them. He still spends real time inside prototype workshops, getting his hands dirty when needed. People who work closely with him describe him as deeply hands-on, someone who genuinely wants to understand every small detail rather than simply approve decisions from a comfortable distance. That background explains the high mileage.
Mate is the Bugatti Big Cheese, and while production tourbillons will be built at the Molsheim Atelier in France, in keeping with Bugatti tradition, the prototypes are created in Croatia
in a way no marketing message ever could on its own, no matter how well written. Rimac doesn't see his hypercars as finished products meant to sit quietly inside a showroom for display purposes only. He sees them as machines that need to be tested out in the real world, the exact same way he tested that very first BMW years ago back in his garage. Every mile added onto the Chiron and the Nevera isn't reckless behavior at all when you look at it this way. It's data collection coming from a man who never really stopped thinking like an engineer, even after becoming a CEO twice over in two different companies. There's also a quieter detail hiding inside his collection that connects directly to his current habits today. Among his cars sits an Aston Martin Valkyrie Spider and a Pininfarina Battista, two hypercars built using Rimac's own technology under the hood, supplied to other manufacturers. He keeps them less like personal trophies meant to impress guests, and more like physical records of what his company has contributed to the wider industry over the years. For Rimac, a car parked inside his garage isn't a status symbol meant to impress visitors walking through. It's simply another chapter in a much longer story he's still actively writing, 1 mile at a time. The bigger bet, this entire philosophy is about to face its biggest test yet in the years ahead. One that will define how the rest of the industry sees him. Bugatti is currently developing the Tourbillon, the official successor to the Chiron, combining a naturally aspirated 16-cylinder engine with 3 separate electric motors to produce a combined 1,800 horsepower total output. It's widely expected that once the Tourbillon eventually reaches Rimac's personal garage, it won't be treated any differently than the cars that came before it in his collection. If his track record up to this point means anything at all to anyone watching closely, that brand new car won't stay clean and pristine for very long either, no matter how much it costs to build. There's a much bigger story playing out underneath all of this surface-level behavior, one that stretches far beyond personal preference or quirky habits picked up over the years. Rimac has been openly skeptical about how quickly the ultra-wealthy will actually embrace electric hypercars like his own Nevera, despite how impressive the technology is on paper. He's pointed out more than once that buyers at this level often want drama, noise, and the theater that comes with a roaring combustion engine, not the quiet, clinical precision of a silent electric motor humming along. It's a surprisingly honest admission coming from the very man who built one of the fastest electric cars on the entire planet with his own 2 hands. That tension between what he personally believes is technically superior and what wealthy buyers actually want to experience behind the wheel might explain exactly why he drives his own cars the way he does every single day. If he can't fully convince the ultra-rich through marketing campaigns and slick advertisements alone, he can try to convince them through hard evidence instead, through hundreds of thousands of miles proving that these machines can handle real, everyday use without falling apart or losing their edge over time. Other owners across the hypercar world are slowly starting to take notice of this shift in thinking too, even if they haven't said so publicly yet. The new owner of that $38 million Ferrari
discovered well into 2026, but apart from immunity of Ferrari, I think there is one important message that I would like always to remember, to myself, to all the team.
Didn't hesitate to drive his, either, choosing real experience over careful preservation from day one. More collectors are beginning to quietly question whether locking a car away really protects its value, the way everyone always assumed it did, or whether it just slowly turns a piece of serious engineering into an expensive ornament that nobody actually gets to enjoy or experience properly. Rimac isn't trying to convince anyone through carefully worded speeches or formal press conferences held in fancy venues. He's doing it entirely through mileage instead, letting the numbers speak for themselves. Through choosing a basic Volkswagen Golf as his daily driver, while a multi-million-dollar Bugatti sat parked just 2 spaces away in the very same garage. Through skipping a private jet completely for a 300-mile road trip in a car, most people will only ever see it through photographs online, never in person. Every single choice connects back to the same idea he first picked up inside that small Croatian garage years ago, long before any of this fame or fortune ever arrived in his life. A car that never gets used isn't really proving anything to anyone watching from the outside. It's just sitting there, expensive and silent, waiting for someone brave enough to actually take it out and drive it the way it was originally built to be driven on real roads. The man who runs 2 of the most exclusive car brands in the entire world doesn't see his cars as trophies meant to impress strangers scrolling past a photo. He sees them as proof of something much bigger than status, and based on everything he's done so far throughout his career, he's clearly not done collecting evidence yet. Mate Rimac didn't build an empire by playing it safe, and he's not planning to start now. While the rest of the hypercar world locks its machines away, he's out there racking up miles, chasing answers, and proving a point, one road trip at a time. The real question is whether the rest of the industry will ever catch up to his way of thinking, or if hypercars will stay frozen in garages as untouched investments forever. What do you think? Should hypercars be driven hard or kept pristine for resale value? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story surprised you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that dig past the headlines. We'll see you in the next one.